So we have created this. I'm going to quickly go through how we imported that data. If you'd like to just practice that, it's very helpful just to practice. Go to External Data. And I don't know why mine doesn't show up the whole list here, but if I go to New Source Data from File, Excel. Not sure why my ribbon isn't showing like some of yours are. If I had saved that import, I could run it again, but I like to know how to do it from scratch. So I most of the time do not save my imports, but it did show you in the book that you can if you like. So I'm going to just practice that. I go find the file, and notice I have to specify what kind of file it is here. As I go to open the file, I go down to where I put it. Now let's see, where did I put that? Oh yeah, in that extracted data file. There it is, that account file. It automatically is searching for Excel files. When I open it, then I can see what it's going to do. Remember the choices you have when you do an import. You can add to an existing table. Now the requirement there is the table should have the same number of columns. If it's a different list of data without the exact same listing of columns in your Excel file, it'll probably mess up your table pretty badly. So it's safest to bring it into a new table. Linking it to the data source, you might think, well, that's pretty cool. That's cool if you're on one computer and you're never going to move the database to another computer. If you ever want to move things around, like sending it to me as to see that you've done it, having that as a link is completely useless because it's linking it to a specific location in your computer. If you ever move your files around, you're asking for troubles. Links break and they're horribly hard to correct. But they can be kind of cool, especially if you don't want to keep duplicating a huge file of data. If they're living together in the same folder, then the links are a good idea. But it's safest if you want to have it all bundled together in your database, bring it into the database, and it's almost like a backup of the data then. It's making a copy when you bring it into a new table. It warns you about the source of it because you never know where data is coming from, and maybe you'll break its access. But we're ignoring that for now. We're ignoring that potential security concern. Because the data is coming in, Access wants to help you if it can. If you check first row contains column headings, that's telling it, hey, let's try to name our columns in our table by the same name that's in the first row of that data coming in. And on the next page, or the next dialog, it even is trying to guess what kind of data that is. And it did a good job. We didn't have to change any of these, but I'm going to change that. Well, we can even change if we're getting data that we don't want to bring into our database, like all the social security numbers of the users, and we don't want to be responsible for losing that data. Like who has lost that data recently? Was it someone hacked Sears? What's that? We could even skip importing that data. We don't want to bring that in. And that's a big deal out there on the internet. People are computers help keep track of lots of things. Anything that's out there that they're keeping track of, someone else is likely going to hack into. So we know on Facebook you might be saying a lot of things, giving a lot of information out, and you think, oh yeah, they're going to store my data securely. Maybe not. Banks, as painful as it is and making you log in 3 times, send a message to your phone, have secret questions and answers, and constantly be nagging you about, oh, wait a minute, you're on a different computer. Is this sure that it's you? As knowing that can be, remember, they're protecting you because if someone can get into that database, the worst thing, and this is a nightmare that's happened to some people, they can pretend to be you. And you have identity theft, and it's just a nightmare. It can last your entire life. In your entire life, you have poor credit, and it can just really mess up your life. So identity theft is one of the worst things people can do. Usually when you're a poor student, college graduate, you're not terribly valuable to people wanting to steal identities. But do everything you can to keep from giving your information out like that. And sometimes you just can't get away from it. You're on the internet, things aren't secure. So keep changing those passwords. That's just a constant thing you have to do. Well, so I can decide not to import certain data, and then as a database manager, if someone says, wait a minute, someone got into your database, I can say, ha, I didn't save social security numbers. I do not have to report to the government and publish to the world the hackers got in, because there's not information that got out. That is a rule out there that if a company is hacked, you're required by law to report to the public when it happened. It was, I think, within 30 days. And this recent hack, and sometimes you find out about things and you read the news report and it says, well, this happened back in September. And my first thought is, why do we hear about it now in April? That was just a recent one I came across. Okay, so we choose our data to come in, and then the last thing we do is, remember, primary keys are important to tables. I can choose which one of those is going to be my primary key. Then I can choose what to name the table, and I'll just call it account 2. And this is where I can decide to save it. The only reason I would ever save it if I know I'm going to import this data again and recreate a table, since I'm happy with my table, I can close it. If it ever has any errors, it will actually create another table giving you a list of errors that occurred in importing the data. And I've seen that happen when I've done data that I've pulled in from other sources. Okay, so we have our access objects. There's that account 2. That was just for playing around. I can right-click, delete that. You can delete any tables, and there is no undo when you delete things out of databases. So something your IT people need to do if you're working with databases at your company, there's got to be somebody in charge of backing up the databases. If there isn't, your whole company might go down. So ask the question of your IT people, hey, how's that backup going? Are we doing it every week? Are we doing it every day if you're the boss at all? If somebody's charging you, you better make sure that they definitely are doing backups. Okay, so now we're going to do something with this data. Remember what we did after we imported that. I can right-click Design View now, and this is where we left off, I think, is we made sure that the length of our fields were the correct numbers here. So let's check to make sure as we go through. Where was that table? There was a table of what all the sizes of things needed to be. Yes, on page AC31, let's make a check just to verify. I can go right down the list. I can use my arrow key to go down the list, and I'm just watching that field size down here as I hit my arrow key. 20, 22, 5, and then numbers, and short text field size of my account manager number. And I'm going to put here in Design View, I'm going to put something in description for someone else looking at this table. They'll know what this field is about, because this is very important. And so I'll put in here account manager number in the description. It doesn't affect how it works. It's just a comment so someone else reading this understands what this number is about. So that's the account manager number of account manager for the account. And I'm going to add in all capitals links to the account manager table. That's a very important concept. This account manager is my hook, my relationship to the account manager table. Remember, if I open account manager, remember every account manager has an account manager number. It's a short text. Back over here, that is a short text field size of 2. That's a problem. Yes, AC31 is a table describing these. Let me zoom in. It does mess up the recording, but it's not going to be too long. Here, let me zoom into that. You'd think that if I zoomed in, the recording would zoom in, but they haven't made it. Something breaks it. I don't remember if this video goes black or something when I zoom in. So there's the setting, and there's the description. Now, I'm not going to be fussy what description you put in there, but put in a description explaining this is our link to the account manager table. And I think they had a description in that first one. We'll just call that, we'll just put in there primary key or unique identifier of the account. They're customers or clients. Links to the account manager table. It's related. That's the relationship between the two tables. And I'd explored Access's way of trying to enlarge text, and I didn't find a good way to zoom into that without messing up the video recording. I just had an idea here. Let me see. I'm going to try something real quick. Let me pause the recording. Okay, we'll see if this records okay. Okay, so we have our description, and now we have it on the match it to our table there on AC31. Now we're going to do a few more things. I can close this. It's going to ask me, do I want to save changes? Yes, I want to save changes. Even though I've added just this description, I'm going to save the changes, close my tables, and now we're going to do something a little bit more advanced here. Let's see. We don't think we have anything we want to correct. Let's check here. Now we're going to do something new. This is where the power of the database comes in. We are going to create, so click the Create tab. We're going to create one of the optional things we can create here. Notice the things we can create. We can create new tables. No, we don't need to create a table because we have created the two that we need. We can create queries, which ask questions about the data. We can create forms that display live information, interactive forms. Or we can create reports that are generally meant to be printed. Let's see what this is about queries. We're going to create a query, and we're going to use our wizard to create the query, which means it's going to ask us questions along the way rather than throwing me into the designer all on my own. As you learn more about databases, the query design will get you there faster. But we're just going to learn about the query wizard. Click on the query wizard, and it will offer types of queries to run. We're just going to do that simple, query wizard. So I click OK. Oh, he's complaining about that. We'll ignore that warning because I don't know why he's warning about that one. Now we can decide what fields we are interested in learning about in our query and what table we need information out of. So first of all, I'm only interested in this particular query with information from my accounts table. So select the table to be the account table. Now from the account table, it knows all of the different fields available to me to list in my query. If I want them all, I can select the double arrow. But the fields that we want, let's see, we only want 4 of the fields. We want the account number. I can double click or select it and click the right arrow. I want to see the account name. I'm going to double click this time. And I want to see how much they paid me and how much they owe me, the current due. So 4 fields we're interested, and we also want to know if we need to get to them, we want to contact them, we want to know the account manager number associated with this particular account. That's the order that they will be shown in my query. Yes. Oh, if you do the wrong one, you could start over, or you could select one that you don't want in there and left arrow, it'll take it back. If I send it back over, let's see if it puts it above where that's selected. It puts it below where it's selected over here. So suppose I have it in the wrong place. I want that to be just under name. I click name and then right arrow over amount paid, and it puts it beneath the one that's selected over here. But you can always start over and do it in the correct order. So account number, account name, amount paid, current due, account manager. Double clicking sends it over. I can always come back to here until unless I've finished my wizard. So I click next, and I see that I can choose two different styles of query, a detailed query or a summary query. I click on that, it kind of gives me a clue what that query is going to look like. And let's see, in the book they want us to do I think just a regular query. Yeah, we're gonna go with the default detail query. Now we get to decide, before we hit finish, we get to decide what to name our query. And it looks like we're going to confirm with the default name to go with the same the same name as our table we got the data from, adding query to it. And because we're going to want to see what this generates, I can now click Finish. So think of this as a peek at the data of just the specific fields that I asked for when I started the query. And I can even edit the data in here, and it will change the data in my table. But what this is more meant to be is a listing of that specific information that the query was designed for. So there's the account number, name. In the same order that I asked for, it gives me those columns. And therefore, you have created your first query. If I save this, hitting the home save button, or there's the little save button right there, that will save my query as account query. And see how it shows up over here on the left side under your list of query objects in your database. As we do more queries, we'll see more of them appearing here. Now, I just forgot one thing. I'm going to go ahead and close the query. We want to give this a name. We want to rename this. It's called account query. Right click on that. You can't rename it while it's open. We have to close it. Let's rename it. And I want to put the name that we did that on. Let's call that AC36. Just so we remember what page that was on when we created it. I can right click rename any of my objects, hitting enter. Now it has that new name. I could right click rename my tables as well, but we don't want to do that. It will mess up our queries because they go by where they get their information is based on what name the table had when we created the query. If I want to actually see what was in that query, I can right click on it. Instead of just opening it and see the data, I can click Design View. This gets a little bit more complex view of my query. It has two pieces that it shows you. It shows you the table that the information is coming from and the arrangement of the data down below in the query design. And we're going to learn what this is about. Let's look at what it has here. It has the field name that's being displayed in that column. It has a table where that name, where that data came from. I can decide whether or not that I should sort my data on that field. By default, it's not sorted. I can decide whether I actually need to see that information in the printout. It seems silly. Why wouldn't I want to see everything? As we do more details, we'll see that sometimes we don't care to see that particular column, but it's needed because it affects how other data is displayed. The criteria is what we're going to be focusing on. I can actually decide to show data that only satisfied certain criteria. This is where the power of the database queries comes from, when you do a search on Google for information, it's using a criteria of what you're searching for to determine what data, what links come back to you in the listing of information when you search for cats at Emmaus. It will use that as a criteria in the search. That's what's being used all the time when you're searching the internet. Criteria into the database. And we can do it ourselves now. In our database, we can put a criteria here in that last column, the account manager. If we know that account manager number 35 is the information that we care about, if I put a criteria here 35 in my criteria under account manager, what that means is show me the information only where the account manager is 35. That's the accounts that I'm interested in. Now if we go back to datasheet view or run the query, that takes me to the same place. I will now see only the information listed for account manager number 35. This isn't a big deal when my database is very small, but when I have an inventory of millions of items or data that I've collected from millions of customers, and I want to see that particular customer that just logged in, and I want to know what ads to send them to their page after they've logged into my site, I do a search on that customer for their history of what sites they visited, where they have bought stuff, and I will show them this information. And I will keep track of that customer that I displayed ads, and I will charge them money based on how many people I've sent their ads to because they are interested in that particular subject. This is how websites make money. They see what you like, they send ads to you based on what you generally like, and that gives the customers, the companies a better chance that you will buy their products because Google is sending you to their sites, or Facebook is putting ads on your page that are related to the things you do. That's how Facebook makes, is it millions or billions of dollars based on this. And they sell that information too. Yes? Oh, don't have amount paid? Well, we can redo it, or you want to see how we can actually fix that? Okay, let's go to Design View. If you're missing amount paid, I'll do that to mine. Suppose this amount paid column is gone. I'm going to delete it from mine. You don't have to do it to yours. Suppose I don't have that column, but I realize I want to show amount paid. In Design View, I can go to this table, and I can double-click amount paid. It will add it as a column. And if I want to move it, I can click in the gray and then click and drag it to the place that I want to have it. So I'm learning how to work with this designer if I need to make any corrections. Now another option would be you start completely over with the wizard. But rather than doing that, I can add a column and adjust its position. If I want to enlarge the column width, once I do that and I run it, you'll see that that column width changed. So if you forget something, you can come in here and double click on any of these fields up here. It will add it by default to the right end of whatever you already have, but I can always move them around by selecting it once and then clicking and dragging it to put it in a different column order. If you're really adventurous, and this is looking pretty easy for you, you might be curious that I can actually look at this thing called SQL View. This is the geek view of the database design. This shows you the actual language that the database uses to search for that information. And in a class that we have in our Computer Information Systems program, we have a class called Database Management where they basically learn this database language. It's called SQL, Structured Query Language, for searching through databases. If you know structured query language or database query languages that are similar, you can make big money as a database programmer. But you don't have to do that in this class. We just look at the datasheet view, or design view. Yes? Yeah. Yeah. And you can take the classes. Some of them do have prerequisites. The first coding class has no prerequisites except for fundamentals. And they all go over an easy programming language called Visual Basic. And anyone's welcome to take it just to see if they might like to learn more in that area. Okay, so we've created a query. I can always close the query, saving any changes. If I ever want to see it again, right-click Design, or right-click, or just double-click to see the data. I can always change the design later. I can make copies of that particular query. If I want to print the query, let's see, is there a right-click? There's a right-click. I guess I have to open it before I can print it. Or no, if I have it selected, wait a minute. Selected it, I can go to File. There we go. I can choose to file print that particular query. I'm going to do a preview before worrying about a printer because we don't want to send it to a printer. I can preview it, what it would look like if I printed it, just by selecting it and then File Print. I thought there was a right click, but I don't see that. So select any query. You can even do that with tables. I can select it and then File Print. Print Preview as far as I'm going. And you see the tables. And because I didn't quite make it narrow enough, it looks like it has a second page. If I wanted to print on one, I could do landscape instead. Now I have it all appearing on one page. And I could print it to a PDF file. That's my favorite place to print. Then I can send it to my email. I like the electronic version. More and more I'm going electronic, printing to PDF files instead of hard copy. Okay, so we have a database with two tables now. And I think we're going to create a form. Yep. We're going to do the 3-click method to create a form. Very easy to do. Oh, we got plenty of time. 3-click method to create forms. Watch how easy this is. I click the table that I want to form, and first of all, a form is just a friendly way of browsing through the data. I didn't think this is that unfriendly. I like Excel and I like the view of a table, but that can be a little bit overwhelming. The form view is a little more user-friendly. I have the account or the table selected. I click the Create tab if it's not already open, and click Form. Boom. It creates a form, giving me the view one record at a time of the data in my table. Now let's spend a little time looking at this form view. It shows me the information with lovely little labels and a nice big box, much bigger box than I need to put a 2-digit state. But it lets me, I can type in that and modify my table. Oh, if I go to if I view that, I can actually edit that data. If I want to browse to the next record, down here at the bottom, I can go to the very first record, or one at a time, zip through my data. If I had a picture of my clients, I could have their picture show up as I'm browsing through this data. So a user-friendly form created with just a click on the wizard. Again, in the database design course, we learn more how to modify these forms. But in this class, we just learn how to create a simple form with the 3-click method. Let me show the 3-click method again. I'm going to cancel saving this and just throw it away. No, I'm not going to save any changes. If I ever want to create a form, account, the table that I want to create a form for, create form. Control S to save it, and I can call it the account. Let's see if they give it a name to that as they view it, or do they just throw it away? They call it account form. Oh, they called it account form. And I'm going to add to that account form, I'm going to put onto that AC40, just to remind myself what page that was displayed on, in case I ever want to go back to review how I created that. 3 clicks to create forms. And I can close it. If I ever want to see it again, just double click on it and I have it open to me again. Later on, we'll be doing more with forms. So there we've done it. We've done a tables, query, and now one more thing on that create tab. I guess you can guess what it's going to be. We're going to create a report. The 3-click method again for reports. Have the create tab open. Click my account table. The report. There I have my report. It's in, it's in design view, or what do we call this? It's in layout view. The layout view lets me adjust it slightly before I go to complete preview. And I think we adjust the columns a bit here. And we also change the heading. Oh, we're going to change the name of it. I'm going to adjust a column here by selecting that and just adjusting the edge of that. I can adjust the width of that column in the printout. Select any column and then adjust its width. I'm going to try to get it to fit a little better on one page. I don't need such wide columns. Let's see, can I go landscape here? Let's see. Format. Oh, page setup. I'm going to go landscape. I think it'll... yeah, it just about fits on one page. I'm going to come to that column. Adjust it in. Oh, I see one more thing on that caption for account manager. I want an AM # instead of the whole word spelled out. And there's my account report. I can close that and save it. Anytime I close it, it should tell me, do you want to save changes? Yes. And we're going to call that, I think we're going to call that account report. Sorry, account financial report. I think I forgot to do one thing in my design view of my account table. My caption for this guy, we want that to be a different caption. I missed something here. Way back at the start. I just realized I missed something. Way in the tables, what page was that? Yeah, AC31. I forgot a couple things here. I'm back in design view of the account table. And I'm going to go to datasheet view on this one because it's in the caption of the account number. I want that name and caption, the caption to be AC #. Change the caption AC space # for the account field. And the account manager, select that and change that name and caption. Add the caption AM #. The reason I'm doing this, now if I go back to the report, now, oh, I guess it didn't make the change. I guess it remembers at the point it makes the report. Or maybe I have to save the changes. Let's save the changes. Now let's see if it shows up in the report. No. I'm going to recreate that report. Since the report's so easy to create, yeah, now it looks like it remembers the caption at the time it creates the report. I was hoping it would update my report to show AC # instead. So I can adjust my reports. And I'm going to go to landscape. I think that's a better layout. And I'm going to adjust my fields just a bit so it all fits on one page. There, one page report. This city doesn't need to be so wide. There we go. Control S to save this. I'm going to call this account financial report. I'm just going to call it Account Financial Report 2. You don't have to make that, but that's just showing you if I ever make a correction, I just learned that it doesn't, if I update the caption, it doesn't automatically update on the report. I was hoping it would do that for me. So, what have we done? We've created our tables. We've created a query using the Query Wizard. We've created a form for friendly viewing of the data. And we've created a report for friendly printing out of nice hard copy reports. Remember, I can always print to PDF and send my report as a PDF. And I think that's it for our first database project. Queries, forms, reports. But the foundation is all my tables. Yes? You don't need to make the 2 reports. I was experimenting. I found that my caption didn't show up correctly until I recreated the report after modifying my caption. But do go back and correct that. I forgot that in the table. Go back to your table. If you don't, in your account table on design view, actually we can do it in datasheet view. Make sure that your caption shows for your account. Make sure it shows a caption of AC pound. Remember how that's done under Fields, Name and Caption. Make sure you have AC pound as the caption for the account number table, or the account number column, and AM pound as the caption for the account manager, just to shorten that title. The title just got way too long. So even though the name is still account manager number, we want the caption displayed to be AM pound. That will affect how our forms and reports look. Once you have those tables in there, and one of each of a query, a form, and a report, you can save and upload Module 1. Remember how we did that caption again? I open the account table, select Fields up here, and when I have the column selected, I can update its name and caption. I should have zoomed in this far when I was first doing it. I forgot about the changing my display resolution to make it a little more readable for you. So once you have that, save your database. Occasionally we see problems with upload if Access still has it open. So if there's any trouble uploading, you can close Access, and then it's ready for upload. Remember your login. Check your upper right corner. If you're still logged in to Microsoft, you might want to switch account and sign out. Otherwise, anyone else that comes in and logs in as a student can get to your Microsoft account and mess up. Remember to log out of your Microsoft account just by clicking your name, switch account, sign out. I noticed that on a few as I was messing with checking their settings. I noticed some of you have left yourself logged in. It's not a horrible thing if you're not keeping important stuff there, but remember to sign out if you have anything important that you're keeping in your Microsoft Cloud, to sign out. Then someone can't mess with it when they log in as student, password student.